And we're back. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. My name is Jay, coming to you live. Oh my goodness. Do we have a story today? We are going to be talking about the truth about the Kia and Hyundai insurance extravaganza that everybody's been hearing about. We're going to be talking about whether you're covered or not, whether you can get coverage. And we have an expert, KirkFaubel, here. And he is going to tell us all about the truth, because we all know that sometimes things aren't as they seem that you hear. So you guys ready to do this? Let's go.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride while buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay, and this is the podcast to tell you what to watch out for, whether you are buying, selling, or repairing your car. With over 26 years of automotive experience, we are the Auto Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent.com. We're real estate agents for cars.
We are back. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. Before we get going, I would like to thank our sponsor, iAutoAgent.com, where the I stands for integrity. At iAutoAgent, they are real estate agents for people's cars. They help people sell their car. You don't have to go meet strange people at strange places because they do it for you. They market, they list, they show your car at no cost to you. And when you're ready to buy a car, they will find that beautiful dream car for you. They will make it so easy. They will communicate with the dealers. They will schedule the showings. They will help you with the financing and the warranties. And you are literally just going to go in and pick up your car. How about that? And if you are just joining us, we have a great show today. We have KirkFaubel with Insurance Advisors, and he's going to be coming in here in a second. But if you're just wanting to watch us live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Time, you can simply go to the Facebook group page, the Auto Authorities Podcast. Click the Join Group page and join us every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Time. If you would like to still watch us, but you can't watch us live, you can go to YouTube and go to the Auto Authorities YouTube page. And then the next one is we have 19 different channels. So you can't really have an excuse not to watch or listen to the Auto Authorities Podcast. You can go to iTunes, Amazon, Google, all of those. And are you guys ready to meet KirkFaubel with Insurance Advisors? He is a TV personality and an expert in this industry. I'd like to introduce you to KirkFaubel. Kirk, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. So, Kirk, I know we're going to get into the good stuff here in a second, but let's let everybody know a little bit about your background. Why do you do what you do, Kirk? Why are you an insurance advisor? Sounds so boring.
It's actually pretty fun because the advising part is how you get to know your clients, asking lots of good questions, understanding what their needs are, and finding a solution for them that, number one, has the right coverage to protect their assets and their family, but ultimately gives them a decent price and a fair price for what they're looking for. So it is pretty fun.
Good. Well, you have to love what you do. And Kirk is really a true expert in this industry. He's a very, very well respected locally, and he also works in other parts of the country too. And we'll find a little bit about that here in a second. But what I really want to do, Kirk, is, there's been so much talk about, oh my gosh, I have a Kia and Hyundai and I can't get insured now. Or if I go buy a Kia and Hyundai, I'm not going to be able to get insured. Let's start with what is the problem? What is happening? Let's educate the listeners, the audience, what's going on. And if you are listening, leave all your comments below, and Kirk will personally respond to you, or I'll personally respond to you, because we want all your questions answered, and that's why we do what we do. So, Kirk, tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Sure. So most people have probably seen on the news or read an article that there is a theft issue with certain models of Kias and Hyundais. In the city of St. Louis in 2022, there were over 4,000 of these vehicles stolen. When they're stolen, they're typically used for smash and grabs, other crimes, many cases used for joyriding, and they get trashed and they get totaled. So that's a huge loss for all of us that we all share in the responsibility of covering those losses, unfortunately. So there's certain models where they have to be a key start model. So if you have a push button start, electronic start Hyundai or Kia, this has never been an issue. It's only if you use a key to start your ignition. Kia and Hyundai chose not to use engine immobilizers, which basically is a chip that goes in the key and a sensor that goes in the ignition switch where they talk to each other. Where if the ignition switch doesn't uh, see that special key, it won't start. Kia and Hyundai chose not to do that to try to keep prices down. So there's actually a way. I'm not a car thief, and I really have no desire to support videos online that teach people how to steal. But there's essentially a video online that shows how you can get into a steering column on these vehicles, use a simple USB cord, and actually start the vehicle and drive away.
Wow. I am just, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. And so, so there, so to keep the cost down, they chose not to use the chips. Do you know what years the the ones like so when did they start doing push button versus the keys? Do you know that?
I don't know exactly when they did that. So it's the lower models of these vehicles, like the Kia Forte, Seltos, models along those lines. So if you have a key start, you need to double check. And I can't remember which manufacturer. One of them was from 2011 to 2021, and then the other manufacturer was 2015 to 2021. So if you have a 2022 or newer, even if it uses a key, they've added the engine immobilizers, which pretty much eliminates this ability. But unfortunately, thieves don't maybe know the difference between a 21 and 22. So you still want to be cautious with your vehicle, leaving it out in places and making sure it's secured as possible.
Yeah, I really want to get into that here in a little bit. So basically, we've got 13-year-olds doing these types of crimes because, of course, they're the ones watching these videos. Are probably something on TikTok, probably if I were to guess. So, all right. So, what are what are the misconceptions that people have with these? And like, let's say somebody does own one. Can like are insurance companies like denying people like with this? Like, that's what I'm curious is if let's just say I owned a Hyundai Elantra. I don't know. And would insurance companies now come to me and say, "Sorry, we can't insure you anymore"?
Sure, that's a great question, and that's a little bit about what's been going on. Is a little bit of fear tactics that hey, you're not going to be able to get insurance. And as an independent agent, I represent quite a few different auto and home carriers. And right now, I've only got one carrier that completely will not insure these particular models. But even with that, it depends on where you live. So if
Mm.
you live in a very, very safe community in central Missouri, for instance, it's not really affecting you there. Right now, the restrictions are mostly in larger cities where crime is high, law enforcement is fairly low, and we see it all the time in the city of St. Louis where these 13, 14-year-olds are caught. They're released to their parents that day. And if you talk to a local police officer, they'll tell you many of these kids are back out in the street that same night, in many cases doing the exact same thing over and over again. So it is very specific to carrier and very specific to where you live. So the best bet is to reach out to someone like me who has many carriers, and I can certainly find you coverages. The carriers that aren't restricting your insurance cost is based on risk, your age, credit history, driving history, accidents, all that stuff. So we are seeing a little bit larger increases on these particular models than the average, but you can still absolutely get coverage and with most carriers. So again, in my area, I've only got one carrier. In Wisconsin, I've got a couple carriers that have some restrictions again in just certain areas.
Interesting. So let's just say hypothetically, and we live in St. Louis, but there's some suburbs. So I'm just going to throw out some suburbs. Let's just say I live in Ladue, which I don't, but if I did, and I said, Kirk, I'm going to go buy a Kia Seltos. Would I be able to get insurance through you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got many carriers. Again, there would be one potentially where there would be a risk, but the others, really no issue.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to give you another scenario. Let's say I have a Kia Seltos and I live in Hazelwood. Would that be another deterrent for you?
Again, you might run into a little bit of an issue with one carrier, but we still would be able to provide you coverage. And for
And
anyone looking at those vehicles, considering purchasing one, I would certainly take a look at other options that are out there so you don't have the risk. If you have a garage, of course, many of these vehicles are stolen overnight. If the vehicle can be garage, that significantly reduces the risk of it being stolen if it's not out and about. But you still need to worry if you're at work. I hear a lot of people getting them stolen at work, depending where they're at. Also, if you can't put it in a garage, using something as simple as a club. Again, most of these thefts are happening with juveniles. They don't want to do any more work than they have to because they know they can find another easy prey somewhere else. Just putting a club on significantly reduces the risk because most of these kids don't know what to do. They're not carrying hacksaws along with them to cut steering wheels. They want something quick and easy that they can joyride or turn over to gang leaders, drug dealers, things along those lines. So anything you can do to reduce the risk of theft is very beneficial.
what a great promotion that would be. Hey, everybody, we have a Kia Seltos here. And with the Kia Seltos, you will get a free club with it. And what the club's going to do is prevent someone from stealing your vehicle. That would be a nice little gift to give people, like, little partying gift. So what I'm understanding is a lot of the stuff we're hearing in the media is well blown out of proportion, and it's not really what we think it is. Surprise, surprise.
Sure.
So let me ask you this. Let's talk about rates. Let's say the same example. Let's say Ladue. I buy a Kia Seltos. Am I going to have to pay a higher rate than I would have before because I had that vehicle?
And that's a great question, Jane. It's so hard to predict rates based on one specific factor. There are literally thousands of factors that carriers use to determine the rate of your insurance premium. So it might be a little bit higher than, say, a comparable Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla or some other small vehicle like that, because there is a greater risk. But if you have a good driving record, good credit score, you're a homeowner, all those other factors are so much more important than just the type of vehicle you drive. And if you're considering again one of these vehicles, I would possibly not look at other options that are available to you. Right now, again, there's only a couple of carriers that I work with that are having any restrictions whatsoever. Insurance tends to lag a little bit because they like to have data available. So sometimes changes in insurance are a little bit slow. So you might see additional changes and more restrictions hit the market this summer or this fall or early next year. So those are definitely things to consider as you're considering a model of vehicle to purchase. And the other thing I want to make sure too, an insurance policy is a legal contract between you and the insurance carrier. And if you buy a 1 year policy, that contract, unless there was material misrepresentation, that contract is in place for the full year. So your carrier can't change the terms of your policy midterm unless it's to the benefit of you. So if you just signed up and you've got a Hyundai Elantra with a key start from 2019 that's affected, 2 months into your 1 year policy, they can't say, hey, we're going to cancel your policy. They potentially at renewal could say, hey, we're not going to renew these particular policies anymore. But you would get a pretty sizable notice, typically 60 days, that this is going to happen and give you plenty of time to get out there and shop.
Wow, that's really good. So everybody that's just tuning in, we're talking with KirkFaubel with Insurance Advisors. Kirk is an absolute expert. He's been on the show before. He's on TV. He talks about like the realities of things. And we're talking about the truth about this Kia and Hyundai insurance extravaganza. We're hearing all these things in the media, but what he is saying to us today is don't believe everything that you hear because it's not quite the same. And there's a lot of sensationalism because there's people that are really, really struggling right now, like determining, well, should I keep my car? Am I safe? And whatever. In a second, I'm going to talk about the pricing of these vehicles because that's where I come in. But if you're just tuning in, I would really love you to leave a comment, share this with somebody you like or love, and let them see this. That's why we do this every single week for almost 2 years, because we want to get on this platform and tell you the truth about things, raw and uncut. So let's talk about the pricing, because I'll tell you this, Kirk, I actually sat down with an old business colleague of mine, and he sold a Hyundai Elantra. I'm sorry. Yes, I think it was a Hyundai Elantra. It was a Hyundai of some sort. Maybe it's a Sonata. And the people came back and said that they wanted to get their money back because they were afraid that this thing was, going to get stolen. And it was just crazy because we have a Hyundai Elantra in our like we're selling one right now. It's a great car. And just like you said, like if you don't live in a great area, like there are some measures you can take. And that's what I want to ask you next. Like if you own this car, what are the measures that you can take to protect yourself from, getting your car stolen?
Yeah, and that's we also want to do what we can to protect our investments and the things that we've worked hard for. We've already talked about the club. That's a very visual uh, prevention measure that you can take to help reduce the risk of theft. I've also seen some places the boots that the police departments use when they don't want you to take your car anymore. I understand you can get those, and some police departments have recommended getting one of those boots. So if they do try to steal it, they can't drive it anywhere. Other options, of course, would be electronics, like alarm systems, engine immobilizers.
Interesting. What is a boot, real quick? I don't know what that is.
So if you've ever seen on the side of the road, maybe someone's left their vehicle parked too long in a no parking zone, or they've got a lot of parking tickets. It's one of those devices that goes over the wheel, and then it locks under the wheel, so you can't drive
Oh, I'm glad that I don't know what that is because I've
it.
never had that before. Yeah. So like vehicle immobilizers, that would be good. So like there are some aftermarket products that you can purchase, and they can't be tremendously expensive.
Yeah, I mean, clubs and a lot of municipalities have been giving away clubs for free because they've gotten donations from actually from the manufacturers. Club has helped out a little bit. Security systems certainly can get up there in price depending how elaborate of a system you want to get. But even if you spend $1,000, most people have at least a $500 deductible on their policy, which you're going to pay. In Missouri, a car theft is considered a comprehensive claim, so it's a not at fault claim. but many carriers will still pull things like your claims-free discounts. So your insurance will go up regardless, even if it's not an at-fault event. So in many cases, the cost of doing some of these things is still less of a headache and less of a hassle and long-term less of a cost than getting your car stolen.
Well, when you relate this to, so let's think of homes, right? So what do we do in our homes? A lot of us have, ring systems where they have cameras. We have, some of us have alarm systems. Some of us have dogs. Um, like I'm just really thinking that this is just another one of those things that has just gotten blown out of proportion. And, it just sounds like the moral of the story is don't freak out if you have a Hyundai or a Hyundai or a Kia, and don't freak out if you want to go buy one. In fact, because pricing is lower on those cars now, it would be a great opportunity to buy one, right? I mean, don't you think, Kirk?
Yeah, I know from talking to some of my clients that have tried to sell them that the values on those are much, much lower than comparable models from other manufacturers. And again, if you do purchase one, uh, double check with your insurance agent before you purchase it and make sure insurance is something you can get, because there are some large captive carriers that are restricting the ability to insure. So you may have to switch carriers with it, and just make sure you're going to do your due diligence to protect the car that you're purchasing.
I love it. And truly, I know a company that sells cars for people. They're called iAutoAgent.com. And if you're not happy with your value of your Hyundai Elantra or Hyundai anything or Kia anything, then come see us. Just contact iAutoAgent.com and sell your car. We're, the more I talk to Kirk, because the reason why I wanted to bring Kirk on is because he is an expert in this industry. And now we're getting the truth. We're really getting the truth about this BS that we keep hearing about. Like, this is not that big of a deal when you take some of the measures. And it's just like anything, Kirk. It's like if someone wants to break in your house and they see that you have an alarm system, they're probably going to go to the next house that doesn't have an alarm system, or the house that says, that doesn't say, I have a gun and I will shoot you if you break in my house. Right?
Yeah, and the one piece of advice I would give on that note, because I know we have a lot of gun owners in our area, we've started to see, especially with newer vehicles, in a lot of cases you can track down your vehicle through the app. Maybe some people put like Apple tags in their car, whatever the case may be. We've seen a couple situations here locally where people have tracked down the car because the police departments aren't always actively looking for car thieves unless there's another crime involved. So people have tracked them down, and there was one in South City where there ended up being a gun battle, and another one where someone just shot the thief. Just this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but remember, castle doctrine, stand your ground laws do not protect you for protecting property, especially when you've gone out and chased the person down. So if you do have that technology, best bet is if you find the car sitting somewhere, call the police immediately and let them know you've recovered the car, and do it that way. Don't bring guns. Don't threaten to shoot people, because odds are likely you're going to end up in jail if you do.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is insane. Like, I mean, here, there's obviously something else going on there if you're going to chase someone down with a gun. It's a car. Cars can be replaced. That's why we have insurance. Don't risk your life to do that. That's crazy.
And
That
keep in mind too, if you do catch someone trying to go in your car, kind of the same story. Most of these thieves are very young kids, don't necessarily have a concept of accountability or the value of life. In many of these stolen cars, the kids are finding guns and carrying those guns with them, and not necessarily afraid to shoot at you if you stop them in the act. So if you see it happening, best bet is, again, let your insurance company handle it, call the police, and it's not worth losing your life or being severely injured because over a car.
Wow. I mean, I'm getting chills right now just hearing these types of stories because this is not what I expected you to say. And truly, everybody, this is Raw and Uncut. Kirk and I don't sit there before like, what questions do you want me to ask you? Like this is Raw and Uncut, and this is real life. Kirk, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like everybody to know about the truth about this, or anything related to insurance that you feel would be valuable to our listening and viewing audience?
Yeah, again, with the car theft thing, and it doesn't matter if it's a Kia or Hyundai. There's just as many cars stolen right now because people leave their keys fob somewhere in their car and their doors unlocked. Every day you read, I see them in the local paper more for that scenario than someone stealing a Kia or Hyundai. Please make sure you lock your car, take your keys in with you, do your due diligence to protect your vehicle. Again, all these losses, the principle of insurance is we're all sharing costs and responsibilities. So we talked about the 4,000 Kias and Hyundai stolen in the city of St. Louis. If that's an average of a $15,000 loss, which isn't that high in today's world, that's $6 million of losses. Again, they're not at fault to the person who had their vehicle stolen. That $6 million gets spread out to all of us. And that doesn't even count the accidents, weather damage, the other car thefts, all that other stuff. So that's a big reason insurance is going up. So we all need to do our due diligence to do what we can to drive safe and make sure we're trying to keep costs down for all of us.
Wow, that's an amazing point. I've got one other question for you before we wrap up. Are there any other vehicles that are going to have this type of situation that you know of?
I don't know any other specific vehicles. I have heard, I haven't done a lot of research on it, that there has been a little bit of an issue with like some of the high powered Dodges, like the Challenger and the Charger. I need to do a little bit more research on those to find out if there's something in the car or people are just targeting it. I
Mm.
also saw a story the other night too, where car theft rings are taking vehicles from our area and taking them to the border, and they're used to fund drug
Oh,
trafficking, human trafficking, and so on. So again, this is really something we all want to be diligent on. And no matter what type of car you have, make sure you're protecting your family, protect your investment that you have in your car, make sure they're secured, make sure you have your keys with you.
great advice. Unbelievable. Everybody leave comments below. Leave your questions. Send this to your friends and family. Share this with everybody you know. This is really good stuff, and we all need to know the truth, don't we? And we're not hearing it, but we heard it today from KirkFaubel with Insurance Advisors. Kirk, if somebody wants to contact you, how do they get in contact with you?
I'm pretty easy to get in contact with and pretty tech savvy. So you can either reach out via email, which is kirk@faubelinsurance.com. My cell phone number is 618-363-5272. Or you can just go to faubelinsurance.com and request a quote right there.
Absolutely. You know, Kirk, this has been an amazing interview. I was so excited to do this interview with you because I just had just a little inclination that this may not be what we think it is. And you set the record straight today. Thanks for joining us at iAutoAgent. And everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Peace.